Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prushtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Desatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Mukam Karoti Vachanam, Pangum Langati Girim, Yat Krupatam Hamande, Shri Gurun Dinatarine. So, today we will see verse number 33 of chapter 6. Arjuna Vacha Yo Ayam Yogastvaya Proktam
Yoyam yogastvaya prokta
Samyena Madhusudana
samyena madhusudana
Etasya aham na pashyami
etasyaham na pashyami
chanchalatvat stitim stiram.
chanchalastva stitim sthiram.
Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha
Yoyam yogastvaya proktam
Yoyam Yogastvaya Prokta
Samyena Madhusudana
Samyena Madhusudana
Etasya aham na pashyami
Etasyaham na pashyami
chanchalatvat stiti stiram.
Sanchalatvat Stitim Stiram.
Please chant.
Arjuna Vacha Yoyam Yogastvaya Prokta Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham na pashyami Sanchalatvat Stitim Stiram.
अर्जुन उवाच योऽयं योगस्त्वव प्रोक्तः सम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वत् स्थितिं स्थिरम्.
Okay, so translation and purport. Arjun said, O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and undurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the word Suchau Dese and ending with Yogi Paramaha, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this Kali. The present age is characterized by bitter struggle for life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization even by simple practical means. What to speak of this difficult yoga system which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of mind from the material engagement. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed with in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior. He had great longevity, and above all, he was most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now. Yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If there were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of desired goal. So Krishna explained the yoga system to Arjuna, right? And also the different level of achievement or realizations by following this yoga system. So main thing that Krishna has explained before the realization is control of mind, or at least or Krishna has actually explained stopping of mind and stopping of consciousness, right? So that itself is a very challenging task. So now Arjuna is saying, okay, the realizations are fine, but I think this is I cannot follow this. Etasyaham na pashyami. I think I cannot follow this. Because see, chanchalatva sthitim stiram. So the mind is chanchal and it is not stable. So here actually Arjuna's question to Krishna is uh, question that we all have, right? So when we were discussing previously the verses, we were saying control the mind, uh, don't think of the thoughts, don't go after the thoughts, don't go after the desires. Means okay, we were reading, we were discussing, but at in our mind we know that this is not possible. Not mind, the intellectually we were thinking is how it is possible. Yeah, so I can control my mind or control my desires for 1 hour, 2 hour, 1 day, 2 day, maybe 3 days, 1 week. But after that, my mind is going to go here and there. So here Arjuna uses the word chanchala. It cannot remain steady. That is the nature of mind. So by its nature, the mind is going to go here and there. Krishna Arjuna is asking very practically honest question. So this is one of the characteristic of disciple. Now, he knows even if a guru gives the instructions to execute, of course we have to execute it. But if we feel that we are incapable of it, then the disciple ask that how to do it. I think it's not possible for me. How I can do it? Tell me the way, right? So this is also one characteristic of a good disciple, right? So Arjuna on the same line asking that the mind is not stable, it cannot remain stable. So whatever yoga system that you have mentioned is looks very impractical. And of course Arjuna was with Krishna, and it was not just still Kali Yuga. So they have, like Srila Prabhupada mentioned, they have better facilities to do this, to practice this yoga, right? Arjuna could have done, but in our situation now, if we see, it's impossible to do all these things. So going to forest or meditating, it's very rare thing. Of course, there are few yogis who do all these practices now also in Himalayas, and also there are rare examples who can do this. But for people in general, if we have to go towards our actual goal of self-realization, this process is very difficult. It cannot be done. And if it was difficult for Arjuna, then there is no question of for us. It's more difficult because Arjuna was with Krishna. Still, he's saying it's not possible. So, for us, it's impossible. So, this verse also gives us hope or a positive point that the people of Kali Yuga have characteristic of having very unsteady mind. We cannot focus. So in Satya Yuga and all the yogis, or people in general were practicing meditation. They can meditate for long time. But now, for us, sitting at one place without doing anything is also a tapascharya. It's very difficult for us to do all these things. Just sitting also, so much is our mind frustrated. It's not frustrated exactly, but it is captivated by so many attractions, so many things, so many desires, that it's very difficult to concentrate or sit at one place or chant by sitting for 2.5 hours. Not so easy. Even all means rather, chanting continuously for 2.5 hours is also difficult. Just sitting, forget sitting. at one place. So just we continuously chanting is also difficult. By walk, by different positions also is difficult. Of course, some devotees can do that because they have a higher consciousness, but I'm just talking from general sadhaka stage where we are not able to focus our mind and nothing. So Arjuna will ask more questions to Krishna in this chapter. So then the Krishna now explain the yoga system. Arjuna says this is difficult for me to follow. Uh, then now Krishna will take the conversation to still higher level. So he has to now, after this dhyana yoga is ultimately is bhakti yoga, right? The service or devotional service. So Krishna has to take the conversation there. So Arjuna's these questions actually help Krishna to take the conversation to much higher level. And uh, though Krishna is saying control the mind, be equal to, first he said be equal to all the human beings, then he said be equal to stones also, be equal to natural things, be equal. But from Arjuna's point of view also, like, okay, be equal, he can practice by the intellect, but the mind, because it's wandering continuously, intellect can control the mind for some time. So like say Duryodhan, Dushasan, who are his enemies, it's very difficult to see those people as friends, right? So uh, we also don't have very honest and close relationships with everyone. We can have such relationships with very few. uh, so to them, we can open our mind. We can think of them as equal. But people with whom we cannot get along, or we don't have good wavelength with them, or there is always argument, it's very difficult to see these people at equally every time by intellect. It's not possible. We can do for some time, some days, but ultimately the mind will come up. And generally in Kali Yuga, the mind controls the intellect. It's other way around. So that's very naturally happening. So so this process of dhyana, that Krishna, or yoga that Krishna is explained, looks impractical, because we cannot see all people by equal vision. Very difficult. To see at least three people equally is also difficult. What to speak of everyone? Same, not possible. So here Arjuna has put up this point, Chanchala Astiram. So now Arjuna will continue his question in the next verse also, where he will give the different characteristics of the mind. So because mind is so powerful, it's one of the senses or master of the senses. So it's difficult to control. So Arjuna will ask the more questions on this line tomorrow also. He will give the reason why he says eta etasyaham na pashyami, why I don't see it capable. Because the question, when we ask the questions, we also have to give some reasoning. The questions cannot be arbitrary. It came to my mind, so I asked. No. When we also ask questions, we also have to be thoughtful. We should be in a position to explain why I am asking this question. Right. So now Arjuna also has to explain why he think it's impossible. Right. So then Krishna can guide. Then anyone can guide. So if we tell a guru or a senior that I cannot do it, then first our homework is why I cannot do it. If we know the reasons, is best, because then the solution becomes easy. So Arjuna will give the reasons in the next verse, so that Krishna can help him. Then the guru or the seniors can help you in an easier way, right? So that Arjuna will tell in the next verse, and that we will see tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So any comments, any points? Etasyaham na pashyami. Tasyaham na pashyami. Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Let's see tomorrow the reason why Arjuna cannot accept this yoga system. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much.
Thank you. Please take care.